Billboard Rewind. Billboard Rewind. Billboard Rewind. Welcome back, everybody, to Billboard Rewind. I'm Mama Kay, joined by Billboard Chart Guy, and today we're rewinding to the week ending October 16th, 1976. A week when disco was rising, novelty hits were everywhere, and the charts were packed with yacht rock, classic rock, a little schmaltz. I was 5, Billboard Chart Guy was 11, but even then we were hooked on countdowns. And this one is pure 70s magic, baby. All right.
Well done, Mama. Yeah,
like
this
that?
is a.
I just to say I like it to be as schmaltzy as some of the music we're going to talk about. But go ahead.
This is a crazy week. My wife and I have a joke when we're watching like a cheesy show or something. We call it goody bad because it's terrible, but we like to watch it. So this week is goody bad. It is a train wreck, but yet there's some interesting songs here, and I'm looking forward to going through this with you.
Awesome. Yeah, me too. I laughed, when I read the top 5, or we read the top 5 together, I think at the end of last show, and excited to dig into some of this, some good, some really bad, some, I don't know. We'll let you start off here in a second, but I will say, I think it gets a little worse as we go. Not quite, but let's just say the top of the charts this week are going to be fun to talk about.
Let's just say that the number one song is for the Birds. That's what I would say. All right. Well, number 5, the week of October 16th, 1976, played that funky music by Wild Cherry. A spectacular one-hit wonder. It peaked at number 1 in September of 76. This week, it's number 5. It was on its way down the charts. This song, interestingly enough, also got to number 1 on the Billboard Hot Soul Singles. Wild Cherry was a hard rock band who, was struggling to get some airtime, and they decided to take advantage of the burgeoning disco craze. This song is very funky. It's got a great bass line. The horns on it are fun. I love this song then. I love this song now. What do you think of Play That Funky Music?
Well, the first thing I think of is it's a wedding song. I just, when there's 2 things I think of when I hear this song, I hear wedding song, everybody gets out there, everybody does disco dancing. It's great. And I also think of the Vanilla Ice cover from the early 90s where, good for them. He truly, he actually got it legally licensed, unlike his other bigger hit.
Right.
And so they used the track. He actually covered some of the choruses, so they get royalties for that. So good for them. One of the things that I think about this song, I love this song. I agree, it's fun, it's schmaltzy, but in the best disco way, not in the worst disco way. And one of the things that I didn't know about it was named after the cough drop, which makes sense. So I love them Wild Cherry cough drops in my youth. I would eat them in one sitting, which I don't think they were intended on, but that was just a side note about the Wild Cherry cough drops. But yeah, no, it was definitely a Miami funk track, kind of played on that burgeoning disco funk music sound that was coming out. And I know that the backing vocals and the session players in that were big in the Miami funk scene. So it definitely felt authentic. It didn't really feel like it was an imitation of that. So it helped. Its, it got a lot of critical acclaim for that as well. And the punchy horn section you talked about, it's like signature part of the song. And I think that was added later, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't in the original demo of that song. So that was a smart move by whoever produced that. I don't know who that was, but it's a great song. And it was, it just has endured through the years. I think the Vanilla Ice cover helped a little bit bring it back. When I think I first heard the Vanilla Ice version I'm younger than you, so I was probably in college when that came out. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much I knew of the original other than I knew it was like a disco song. Made me appreciate it, brought me back. I learned more about that original. So yay on Vanilla Ice for kind of bringing me a little bit back to some of the better music that he was covering. Not to say that he was fantastic, but he did actually use some good material for his knockoffs. So that was good for him. I know they were a little hesitant to play that in radio because I think with them being like a white, and this is, why I would assume Vanilla Ice covered it. They were a white rock band and they were breaking into funk disco, and it was dominated by Black artists at the time. So this was a standout of that. So it's a great song. I like it.
It's the absolute Hall of Fame one-hit wonder.
For sure. And it won't be the only one-hit wonder we talk about today.
That's right. You want to lead us into number 4?
Sure. Definitely not a one-hit wonder band at all. Number 4 is If You Leave Me Now by Chicago. And I know based on our past conversations, you're probably going to have some strong feelings about this particular song by Chicago. I will say I enjoy this song quite a bit. I think that goes back to the previous episode where we discussed this, and Chicago and Peter Cetera. Written and sung by Peter Cetera, it marked the big departure from their brassy, jazz rock roots. It was a string-filled ballad, really was the turning point. It was from their album Chicago X, and I believe it was their first number 1 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. I'm going to just defer to you and maybe our ombudsman to confirm that, but It was their first number 1 hit, which came later, right after This Week. It was moving up at this time. It won 2 Grammy Awards. They got the Best Pop Vocal Performance by a Duo or Group, and I think they got Best Arrangement on this. The Chicago X album by fans would be referenced as the Chocolate Album, and you know the reason for that, right?
No,
you don't. It's the cover art. The cover art, which I also believe their packaging won an award too, was the Hershey's chocolate bar.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this album is often referenced as the Chocolate Album. So and it almost wasn't included on this album. They had to push for it. The executives at Columbia pushed for it. I'll let you kind of go into this since I know you were a longtime brass fan of the Chicago music previously. They were upset with the softer direction, calling it a little too schmaltzy, but it definitely typecast Cetera as a ballad guy, which they followed up with, their big hits, If You Leave Me Now and Hard to Say I'm Sorry. But yeah, this was the first kind of breakout Cetera-led Chicago song. It was a huge song, and I really, really like it. And I know it kind of was the beginning of the end for that Chicago for you, and I liked the previous Chicago as well. Saturday in the Park and some of those other songs are fantastic. So I can hold both appreciation for both of those Chicagos in my heart and in my musical appreciation. But yeah, I know it was the seed of a split here. So I'll let you go on. Tell me what you think about this song. And
Well, believe it or not, I don't mind this song at all.
oh, good.
This is it was 21 weeks on the chart. It got to number one the next week of October 23rd, 1976, and it was there for 2 weeks. Let me just give you a little edification. The album Chicago X, starting with their third album, Chicago 3, they named their album, they had Roman numerals. So X is the 10th album.
Yes. And it was their 10th album in 8 years. They were very prolific.
Yes. So that I just wanted to point that out to you. This is the highest ranking Chicago song of the 70s. Overall, the group had 20 top 10 hits, 3 number ones, including If You Leave Me Now. And then in the 80s, there was Look Away and You're the Inspiration. Yeah, I know you're probably a little surprised, but I don't mind this song at all. I enjoyed it then. Maybe not so much now, but yeah. And I was still, knee deep in my brass, trumpet playing era of school and listening to things like this, and Chuck Mangione, who passed away recently, and somebody like Herb Albert as well, another famous trumpeter. But Chicago was probably my favorite band when I was a little kid. So still, I was 11 and I still like them. And I did not mind this song at all.
Yeah, that's great, because I know you weren't the big fan of the ballad Chicago years so much. And
that's right.
Probably a little resentful for Peter Cetera kind of taking over that lead on that. But I think it's, for anybody who listened to the first couple shows, I like some of that AC schmaltzy stuff. I'm an unapologetic fan of that. And, he's got a great voice, and it was when you do it right with the good vocals and good, production and good musicians, I enjoy it quite a bit. So If You Leave Me Now, you're going to hear this on every AC station still to this day, in the grocery store.
Right. Yep. Doctor's offices.
Doctor's offices, but it's okay with me. I can sing along to this song anytime I hear it. So I'm a fan of this one as well. So yeah, the first 2 songs on this list, I was pleasantly surprised. And actually the next one too. So I'll let you go to that one. Before we take a hard left turn. So why don't you go on to the next song?
Well, number 3 is a longtime favorite of mine, Lowdown by Boz Scaggs. It spent 22 weeks on the charts. It peaked at number 3, which is where it was this week. This was his only top 10 hit. I was surprised that Lido Shuffle didn't get there, but Lido Shuffle only got to number 11. So Lowdown comes from the album Silk Degrees, which is one of my favorite albums from the 70s. It had, besides Lowdown and Lido Shuffle, it had a song called It's Over, and also a version of the song We're All Alone, which he wrote, but Rita Coolidge had a big hit. It went to number 7 in 1977 with We're All Alone. I don't know if you know that one, Mama.
I probably would know it if I heard it, but not off the top of my head, no. Yeah,
big Boz Scaggs fan. He went on to have a few more hits. He had a song from Urban Cowboy soundtrack.
Yep.
And I don't know if you know this, but he was early on. He was in part of the Steve Miller Band.
Huh.
And he played. He was with the band for a couple of years. 2 albums in 1968, were released, but then he left to do his solo thing. But again, another great song, funky bass, disco drum beat. I would kind of define it. I don't know if you would agree with kind of blue-eyed soul.
I would say this is the forerunning artist, and this song is in major rotation at Yacht Rock Radio, and it is one of the penultimate yacht rock songs that there are out there, along with Lido Shuffle, which I like better
Me too.
than this one. But this is I'll let you finish up. I'll kind of go on to that shift and let you finish what you were saying about that.
Just the one other thing, that the song was co-written by keyboardist David Patch, and he went on to form the band Toto with two other fellas who were in the session for Lowdown, David Hungate and Jeff Picara.
Yes, I was going to mention that when you had mentioned him being in the Steve Miller Band, that he, when he was a solo artist, basically, especially on this album, had a lot of the founding members of Toto, in a sense, Lowdown helped launch Toto. So, these strings of, bands and artists and session artists end up moving on, and then you talk about Toto turning into Asia. So it's kind of it's a string that goes, you find through these decades in these songs. So it's great. I probably, to be fair, didn't know much about Boz Scaggs until his later album he reemerged in 1988 with an album called Other Roads, which I'd say it was a minor hit on the charts, Heart of Mine, but I loved that song for some reason. Okay. I don't know if I had the album necessarily, but I knew this song very well, and it kind of introduced me to Boz Scaggs, and then going back into his catalog and discovering his earlier stuff. And then when I became a kind of a big, before yacht rock, it was, considered soft rock, smooth jazz, right. But the yacht rock format, which came out, as you know, probably already in the early 2000s, there was a web series called Yacht Rock, and it was a tongue-in-cheek label for music that sounded like it belonged on a luxury yacht or sailboat stereo. And Sirius as it was at the time. I don't think it was Sirius XM at that time, but they picked up the format, and all of these songs have had such a resurgence. Boz Scaggs is one of the biggest, artists that play on that station in that format. Steely Dan, Toto, Michael McDonald, Kenny Loggins, Christopher Cross, obviously, some of the hallmark artists of that format. And Boz Scaggs is that for me. I think of this song, I think of Lido, and even his urban cowboy song that you mentioned, which is Look What You Have Done to Me, gets rotation in there too, even though it's it's a little bit later. Although 1980, it's right in that same time, but that one gets played on there as well. I mean, I know he took a long break. I also think of him when I think of Boz Scaggs, and I don't know about you, I just think of him in his suit. He's like very, I don't know, he always had like a suit and tie on.
Kind of like Robert Palmer did.
Yeah, very cool. He had like this very cool thing about him. I love his voice. I don't love all of his songs. Like if you go, I did a little bit of a deep dive on him during the research for this, and went back and played some of his songs with his other albums, like Down to Then Left, Middleman, some of those other mild hits that he had. And not a lot of them were great, but something like JoJo, love,
Great song. Yep.
Great song. So I feel like some of his music is hit or miss for me personally, but the ones I like, I really, really like. So yeah, I love Boz Scaggs in general, as just a cool vibe guy, yacht rock legend, very talented. Helped launch Toto. You can't really diss him too much. So
Yeah, I also like the song you mentioned JoJo. I like Breakdown Dead Ahead, which got to
yes,
number 15. That's a
yeah,
great one as well.
yeah. No, he's got some good ones, and like I said, all these are alive and well on my yacht rock 311 station that I listen to, especially when summer's coming in the spring when I'm getting itchy for some, beach weather. So, all right. Well, anything else you want to say about Boz in this song?
No, I'm dying to hear how you talk about number 2.
Well, let me just tell you. Number 2, I had to go listen to it again just to make sure I knew what it was, but it is a Fifth of Beethoven by Walter Murphy, ... and the Big Apple Band, which I found out in my research wasn't really a band of his. It was session artists, but the label really wanted it to sound bigger and more prominent than it was. So they just slapped that name on it, which ironically, as a side note, was also the band name for excuse me, where am I drawing a blank? The Nile Rodgers band originally that became Chic.
Yep.
He had a big band. He had a band called the Big Apple Band, but they changed to Chic. And
Smart move.
that's another story for another day because they're great too. But yeah, this is a definite disco oddity. It is a mix of it's a disco adaptation of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. That dun 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 dun, that pretty much everybody knows that motif, but it mixed it in with the dance floor groove by combining some disco stuff in there, and it's no lyrics, plenty of music. It's written, arranged, and performed by Walter Murphy. He was a classically trained pianist and arranger who had ironically been working on TV jingles and commercials before hitting it big with this song. It's, according to him, it's a pun. That it's the song title is a pun. The Fifth Symphony and a fifth, as in a bottle of alcohol, which is very disco cheeky, I guess, at the time. It was released in the spring of 1976. It was it hit. I'll let you talk about it. I know it hit number 1 before this week, and it wasn't really ever. It was discovered by the DJs, and then it wasn't released necessarily by the label, but the DJs started picking it up, and then it picked up popularity, and then it had a big revival when it was used in Saturday Night Fever, the 1977 movie with John Travolta. And it was on the soundtrack to that, which obviously was a huge album and one of the best-selling albums of all time. But it helped keep it out there in the disco world. This song is a quintessential one-hit wonder of the disco era. It fused the classical stuff with the pop dance disco stuff. I think it's quiche. I guess if I heard it and I'm on a dance floor, I would dance to it. It's not something that would ever really stay long in my brain beyond that. Wouldn't really think about it beyond that. I've probably heard it a bunch of times, but didn't even realize I heard it, but it kind of was familiar when I read it. So, that's kind of my thinking of, I do know one last thing, that it was connected to the who became a famous producer and person at Sony Columbia, Tommy Mottola, who actually had a big hand in getting this song made and published. And Tommy Mottola, known for Mariah Carey fame, manager husband. I
did not know that.
But yeah, he was. he pitched it. I think he pitched it to another record company, Philly International Records, which I don't know if you're familiar with them. They used to have the OJs and the Blue Notes, and they didn't want it. And it was Tommy Mottola, who was just starting his career, who actually decided to take on this album and take on this song. So we can thank Tommy Mottola
for this, right?
For this, but it was huge hit. So tell me what you think.
Not a lot, to be honest. It peaked at number one the week before, and it was on the charts for 28 weeks. In listening to this again, and then doing a little research, I had completely forgotten it was on the Saturday Night Fever soundtrack. It was just so weird, right? You had all those great Bee Gees songs and
right.
Other disco artists, and then there was this on that soundtrack. Very weird. Is it a novelty song? I don't know if you would classify it as a novelty song, but it's certainly,
it's on the border. It's definitely a one-hit wonder.
Yeah, absolutely.
He had an album. I feel like, and we'll get into novelty songs very shortly, but I feel like he was a serious artist trying to do serious music, whether you think this is serious or not. So in that regard, I say no to novelty, but it is novel because you don't really have many other out there classical / disco mixes that have made it.
No, you don't. Yeah. And I think the answer whether this is a novelty song or not will quickly be answered once we go into our number one song. Which, should I jump into it?
Go right ahead. Be my guest.
The number one song for the week ending October 16th, 1976, "Disco Duck" Part 1 by Rick Dees and his cast of idiots. It was number one for 1 week, and it remained in the top 10 for 10 weeks. Novelty song extravaganza.
Absolutely.
If you've never heard it, it's worth probably 3 minutes just to wonder what the hell was going on in the 70s that this became the number one song in the country. Rick Dees, I think he still is a DJ. He was a DJ in Memphis at the time. He's famous for his weekly Top 40 Countdown, which was a competitor of Casey Kasem. My God, this song is just... and I will just give you a quick little personal on this one. I was 11. I had a girlfriend, as your girlfriend is when you're 11. Maybe you hold hands. But anyway, when I saw that this was number one, it reminded me of her because the previous year was 1975, and I opened my locker in school, and a little note was in the locker from my girlfriend, and the plan was to go see Jaws, I believe, and the note said, "You bring the money, I'll bring the lipstick."
Oh,
she kissed the little note, so I had the lipstick on the note. I was in 5th grade. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
That's so
crazy.
But
anyway, a year later, we were still boyfriend, girlfriend, and we loved Disco Duck.
Oh, you did. There you go.
Well, listen, you do things for the lady in your life at the time, and
compromise your values and.
Oh yeah, complete sellout.
You sold out for the ladies.
Absolutely, yeah. What about you? How do you feel about Disco Duck?
So I don't think. I was 5 when it came out. I obviously remember it being out. You would think this would be right in a 5-year-old's wheelhouse. It was not. I don't think I really thought much of it, to be honest. I probably thought it was funny, maybe, quacked along with the quack, which is a funny side note. Disney's lawyers actually did do a deep dive to make sure that duck voice in the song did not infringe on Donald Duck, but it wasn't actually Donald's voice, and the lyrics were original, so the lawsuit didn't stick. But this is the quintessential one-hit wonder, in that this artist, being Rick Dees, was not an artist. He was a DJ. He didn't have an album. He wasn't trying. It was basically a funny morning zoo kind of song that took off. Ironically, his own radio station wouldn't play it. They were forbidden because the management thought it was a conflict of interest, but other stations picked it up and it went national and became a huge hit, which, listening back, you just have to laugh. At radio at that time was such a mishmash. If you even look at our top 5, the differences of music that's in this top 5. But, this is a novelty disco. It should go in the novelty disco time capsule for sure. It's one of the cheesiest songs. When I think of cheesy novelty songs, this is right up there. I know you had mentioned this is part 1. There was an instrumental version, part 2. Okay. But that was just the instrumental part of it, which is actually probably better looking back at it as someone who likes music and musicianship. And but that wasn't cheesy enough, and everybody wanted the duck sound, so didn't really do anything when they released that. Just a note about Rick Dees. He was, you had mentioned he had his Rick Dees Weekly Top 40, which launched in '93, direct competitor to Casey Kasem. Totally different styles. I love me some Casey Kasem's. I still listen to his countdowns all the time. He was more heartfelt, calm, a lot of storytelling, connecting listeners to the songs. But as a kid, I probably liked Rick Dees a lot better. It was looser, funny, more personality, big personality driven. He did the comedy sketches, sound effects, again, like the Morning Zoo. But I know radio stations, just even when I got into radio years later, it was you have to pick one or the other. It was, you couldn't do both, and you had to find your guy and ride with them. So it was always it was Red Sox, Yankees, kind of thing with the top 40s. But, the younger listeners tended to go to Rick Dees. And at that time, I was a younger listener. But I listened to both of them because I love the charts and I love both. Ultimately, I think I grew out of the Rick Dees vibe. But, he's huge. He was a huge. And when you have a top, number 1 hit as a DJ, that's, not too many people can say that. But I do want to say one thing about the novelty songs, because we don't really get those anymore, which is kind of sad. Yeah. I'm not saying that I want a bunch of terrible songs on the radio or anything, but it just harkens you back to nostalgia of like the 70s and the 80s. And novelty songs were a really big thing. And I don't know if you remember some of the bigger ones. I do, because I enjoyed like King Tut by Steve Martin, right? And the Two Uncommons, which I believed was a pretty huge one. The Streak by Ray Stevens. Yeah, come on.
What about Kung Fu Fighting?
Kung Fu Fighting, Pac-Man Fever, Convoy by C.W. McCall. That was a great trucker anthem. The Streak, as I said, college campuses, we had people streaking. Telephone Man was a big one, I think, at the time. There's a lot of them. And, we know that Weird Al kind of took the mantle. And I think that's where all the novelty songs went, is they went into his back pocket. He saw the opportunity there. And everybody else stopped making them because no one really could.
Don't forget about Mr. Jaws.
Oh, yes. That's right. Yes. Oh my gosh, I haven't thought of that one in a long time. How about what's a couple other ones? There was some Junk Food Junkie. Was that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember who did that one, but I just remember it was health food by day, junk food by night. That's what I remember about that one. But yeah, so this is, not my thing per se. The song is not great, but it's funny. It incorporated a time where these kind of silly, schmaltzy novelty songs were a thing, and for that, I love it. I don't love the song itself, but I love the nostalgia of that time when these songs were kicking off and
right. That's
all over the place.
That's a top five right there. That's some top five.
Yeah, that is some top five. I mean, we had we've had the yacht rock. We've had, and so we got the disco, definitely the disco. So we're really covering the 70s, a lot of the 70s flavors in 5 songs right here. So that's, I guess you can't ask for anything else on that. So we're going to move into the bonus songs, which I think are fun. I'll let you start with your first bonus song and see what you came up with and what your thoughts on the actual countdown for the week was. And
yeah,
hit me.
Well, I saw this song and I had to talk about it. So at number 29 this week was Rubber Band Man by the Spinners. Great song. Great. 21 weeks on the chart. Peaked at number 2 in December. The Spinners overall had 7 top 10 hits. One number 1, which was the song Then Came You with Dionne Warwick. And that hit number 1 in October 74. The Spinners I've loved forever. So many great songs. I was so pleased when 2 or 3 years ago they were finally put into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think before I started tweeting as Billboard chart guy, I used to tweet at the Rock Hall all the time, complaining that the Spinners needed to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The OJs were in, Earth, Wind, and Fire were in. How come the Spinners weren't in? Of course, nobody responded to me, but I feel in some way my maniacal efforts helped get the Spinners into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I was pleased to see Rubber Band Man on the chart this week.
Interesting. I mean, I'll defer to you. I don't know a ton about the Spinners. I know the song. I can kind of hear it in my head. I didn't do any, I didn't listen to it, re-listen to all the songs on the charts. So, but yeah, you're a Spinner stan.
Yeah, love the Spinners. Go listen to this. Yeah, they were just a great, and they were, again, very similar to the OJs.
Yes. Well, I've actually met the OJs, and they're great, and I like their music quite a bit.
Yeah, very, very. They were right in that category. You mentioned earlier Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, Earth, Wind, and Fire again, the Commodores a little later on. Yeah, just great R&B pop hits from that era. And the Spinners were at the, in my mind, they were probably them and Earth, Wind, and Fire were the best of the bunch.
Yeah, great. Well, there you go. I wouldn't have thought, but this is why, the bonus songs are fun, because you get to see where we are, and with certain other artists that we get to choose on our own.
Right.
Like the top 5. Okay, you want me to go on to mine?
Please.
All right. Well, let me just say that looking through this list, this is the 70s. I was very young. I wasn't sure what I would find when we hit finally a 70s week of the charts. I know you were very happy, and I was, there's some great songs on this top 40 that I not only know, but I also really like. Things that I didn't pick, and I don't want to hit. You know what? I'll save that till after you pick your second, because I don't want to hit one of those. I was going to mention some of the other ones that I liked that I'm not picking, but I'll wait till I do my second bonus song. So my first bonus song is not unlike you, one of my favorite artists of all time, I shouldn't say artist, I should say duo, is Hall & Oates. And having them at number 9 with She's Gone, I had to choose this. It's a gem. It's probably, when I discovered Hall & Oates in the 80s, because this song obviously came out longer ago than that. In fact, it came out in 73, which was written way back after the duo had, they decided to write it. They had a pair of real life heartbreaks. Daryl Hall got a divorce. John Oates was stood up by a date. I don't know if that's equal standing there, but that was the motivation of the writing of this song. But it was originally put on their second album, Abandoned Luncheonette, in 1973. It didn't make a dent. I think it might have gotten as high as number 60. But when they started to get success in the later 70s, they re-released it, and it basically finally hit. And it's a great song. I think it eventually made it to number 77, on the Billboard Hot 100. To me, this is their kind of quintessential song. We can talk about Hall & Oates, and we're going to hit them again. I know we will. Over the years, they were so prolific and so huge, especially in the 80s. They're the most successful duo in pop history at that time in the 80s. They had number 6 number 1 singles in the 80s. This is their 70s though, so I don't want to jump ahead because I know that will come up later. Yep. And I found them through their greatest hits album, when I was listening to their 80s stuff and Sarah Smile and Sarah Smile's in the 70s. Rich Girl, Kiss on My Lips, Private Eyes, Can't Go For That, Man Eater, Out of Touch, all those songs. I went back and got their greatest hits, and then I was introduced to their 70s stuff. They are, in my opinion, probably the best duo in history. I'm just saying that off the top of my head without, that would be my personal opinion. I know Simon and Garfunkel. I know there's other ones that are hugely, it may be even bigger, but I can't think of any, to be honest. And for personal preference, my favorite duo. This song is great. I love it. It really exemplified his Daryl Hall's great voice, the writing of in the song, the musicianship of John Oates. We kind of, again, I don't want to do the entire Daryl Hall, John Oates breakdown because I know they're going to come up again, probably in a top 5 at some point. We know they had some tension. They had the lawsuit just a couple of years ago, where John Oates was trying to sell a share in the joint business partnership and the music catalog stuff, and Daryl Hall did not appreciate that, and it kind of blew up. And unfortunately, that was one of the most devastating things for me as a big fan, to see them break up. I've met them. They did Kiss concerts in the early 90s. I was happy to meet them and get to know them a little bit in that time. And I'm just a huge fan of this song. So yeah, this was an easy pick for me.
Yeah, it's a great song. You mentioned it was written in 73. It actually got to number 60 on the charts in 1973, and then re-released in 76, and got to number 7, as you said. What's funny, and it's just, I think the age I was at the time, so 76, I was 11. Shortly after She's Gone, Rich Girl got to number 1, and then you didn't hear anything from them on the radio really until the end of 1980, when they did a cover of You've Lost That Loving Feeling. But that time frame from 77 to 80 seemed like forever. But I just think it was, I was 11 to 14 or 15. And, but I'm a huge Hall & Oates fan. Have been um, since these early Sarah Smiles. She's gone. Rich Girl in the '70s. And you're right. We're gonna talk about
Yeah,
them
I mean,
probably
they're
throughout
just
this.
such a
Yeah,
good
they're great.
mix of the like. I know it's cliche because it's been said a million times, but that blue-eyed soul, pop, soft pop, new wave. They actually have a few songs in the yacht rock realm too.
Yeah.
I could go on another tangent about yacht rock. I won't do it, but there's a few songs that fit in there, and then there's a few songs that don't. And I was really annoyed when I was listening to yacht rock radio the other day, and they put "Rich Girl" in there, and I was like, "This is not a yacht rock song."
It's very
And
subjective.
it's I don't know. I feel like yacht rock's like porn. You know it when you hear
Yeah.
it, and that is not a yacht rock song.
I would agree.
But certainly some of their some of their earlier stuff is, and some of their songs are, and some of them aren't. But they're just great. You know, the Philly sound. They're just amazing. They're one of the, again, you're listing the top artists of the '80s. They're going to be in the top 10. I honestly will stand by that forever. If anybody wants to take that up with me, take that up with me. But so go ahead. Your second bonus song.
Second bonus song. I had her poster on my wall. Linda Ronstadt.
Oh, I'm kind of glad you picked this. Because this is a great song, and I wouldn't have picked it, but I'm glad you picked it.
So that'll be the day. 16 weeks on the charts. This week it was number 12. It peaked at the next week at number 11. So Linda Ronstadt, 10 top 10 hits. Really an amazing singer. I would, her biggest skill, her best skill, in my opinion, is she was able to take songs that other people did and made them her own. All her hits, When Will I Be Loved is an Everly Brothers song. Heat Wave, Martha and the Vandellas. Blue Bayou was Roy Orbison. It's So Easy, another Buddy Holly song. She does an amazing version of Tumbling Dice by the Stones, and Tumbling Dice is probably my favorite Stones song. So props to her for that version. Great vocalist, great performer, and she gets points. If you've seen the history of the Eagles, we learned that she hired Glenn Frey and Don Henley to be in her band, the Stone Ponies, in the late 60s. And that's where they kind of got their first bit of fame before the Eagles. Love Linda Ronstadt. I'm glad you like this song as well.
I do. And yes, I did see the Eagles documentary, and that was, I remember seeing that. Definitely. I'm going to probably say this is my favorite Linda Ronstadt song.
I like Heat Wave. I think I like Heat Wave better.
You like Heat Wave. I'm going to say something in this, not to sound whatever. I don't love Linda Ronstadt. I appreciate her. I respect her. I get her influence in the world. And I kind of feel bad saying it, but I've never been that big of a Linda Ronstadt fan.
Got it.
I do really like this song though. And so, if I were to stand on my kind of apathy towards her in the rest of her career, and that's not to say she wasn't talented, not a great voice, not impactful, all of the things. She just never connected to me.
Yep. That's fair.
But this song is, I think, when you were listing off of her other songs, I'm going through them. I'm like, yep, no, this is still the one that I like the most. So this is my favorite of hers, I think. I get it all. I get it. I get why she is, who she is in the legendary, hallmarks of rock history and music history. She's just not anybody who I connected to, and is that unfair? It's just my taste. Yep. So
it's very subjective.
It is music is very subjective, as we know. So, but yeah, that one is very catchy.
Yes.
I like that song. I like that song a lot. And probably the one I could sing off the top of my head more than any other one. All right. So my second bonus. So what I was going to say previously was some of the other songs, and I think this is kind of fun to do, and we're doing these bonus songs, is to kind of hit some of the other big hits that we each might have thought about, didn't pick, but were tough ones to pass up. I mean, there was some good songs. "Devil Woman" by Cliff Richard, that was up there right outside the top 5 this week. I liked "I'd Really Love to See It Tonight," England Dan and John Ford Coley. That's another yacht rock staple.
That's a yacht rock too. Yeah.
The Bay City Rollers, "I Only Want to Be With You," it makes me think of my brothers. They had all those albums. I used to listen to them whether I liked it or not, but I have good fond memories of that. We talked about "Heart" and "Magic Man" at one point last week, I think. So that was on here. "Don't Fear the Reaper," the Bee Gees were on here. One of the songs I almost picked, ABBA, "Fernando." Not my favorite ABBA song, but ABBA was huge. There was some great songs on here. I almost, but didn't pick. It was between the one I did pick and this one for my second bonus song. I almost picked "The Wreck of Edmund Fitzgerald" by Gordon Lightfoot.
Okay.
It's just a classic song. It's not my favorite song in the world, but that to me is like an iconic 70s song. And I almost picked it, but I didn't. And so who I ended up picking, and I think just from the standpoint of personal connection and classic rock kind of royalty song, is "More Than a Feeling" by Boston, which is, growing up here in Boston area. I grew up on the North Shore in Swampscott, Massachusetts. 2 of the founding members were in my hometown. I used to go trick-or-treating at Barry Goodrow, who was the lead guitar, and Fran Sheehan, who was the lead bass player and the original bass player for the band. Used to go trick-or-treating at their house. So I learned about Boston very early in my life. And I think they, and this may sound crazy, are a little bit underrated in their pantheon of, rock music. This song is not. This song is a huge hit. I know, doing some research, I learned how long it took Tom Scholz to write it. And it was like 5 years working on it in his basement before the band was even signed to a record deal. The chorus, the trademark guitar harmony, it became their sound. There's a great solo in the middle of the song. The beginning is infamous. Not infamous, excuse me, famous. I won't say it's infamous. It peaked at number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1970 December. So it took a little while to get there from where it made it. And this was, let me see, what, I don't know if I have it written down where it was this week. I could look it up. More Than a Feeling was 24 this week. So it was moving up at the time. It came off their self-titled debut album. 17 million copies in the US alone. It's consistently, this song ranked high on the list of the greatest rock songs ever. Rolling Stone placed it among the 500 greatest songs of all time. It's huge. It's a huge hit. Brad Delp, the lead singer, has that 4-octave range. When he goes high, I'm not going to try to, imitate that by any stretch of the imagination, but everybody sings along with it when you're singing the song. It's just I think, that album, they were almost an overnight sensation with that. It was, I think, on Billboard for 2.5 years or something crazy like that. It's a definitive arena rock anthem at this point, but I love a lot of their songs that aren't as big, and I don't know, maybe it's it's biased because they were neighbors of mine, but I feel like they were a little underrated in the pantheon of classic rock artists and bands. So
Well,
that's my number two.
Well, I don't want to fight.
Okay,
But,
you hate them.
But I hate them. But I literally hate them.
Oh, wow. See, this is good. Tell me.
Yeah. Overproduced, very slick, quintessential 70 arena rock. I never got it. Again, being maybe it was my New Yorkness. I heard
York Yankees Red Sox thing.
Yes, yeah. Just I never took to it. Listen, I know how important that debut album was and is, but for me, that's if I'm flipping my radio stations and I hear a Boston song, it's a quick change the tune. Yeah,
that's not right.
Sorry, Charlie.
I mean, it's arena rock for sure, but at the same time, you can't debate that guy doesn't have a freaking amazing voice.
Yeah,
and
sure.
It's
so does Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say I didn't like Freddie Mercury. I love Freddie Mercury.
Right.
But yeah, I get it. You don't like it. I think it's the New York thing in you, but we'll let that go.
All right,
I'm kidding. I mean, it's polished. I understand when you say it's not as raw. It's more polished. It's radio friendly.
Yeah, FM radio friendly. Yep.
But I really like a lot of their songs. I mean, I do not like Amanda. I will say that right out. I'm not a fan of that song, but Smokin' and what's the one, Rock and Roll Band? I like that song. I mean, go back and listen to some of their stuff. It's not bad. I really, really think they kind of, I don't know. That's me. You hate them. Get it. It's totally...
You say they're underrated. I say they're properly rated. How about that?
Okay. And yeah, and and conversely, I don't love Linda Ronstadt. I think she's properly rated in like she is where she should be because she is talented. It's just not my style.
Yeah.
But if you're learning guitar, you got to learn the song. I mean, it's kind of like Smoke on the Water, Sweet Child of Mine, like to learn the riffs and More Than a Feeling, I think. And obviously Jimi Hendrix. I think those are like the ones we all learn, when you're trying to learn guitar, as if I ever took a guitar lesson in my life. But that's what I would think if I took a guitar lesson. I'd want to learn the beginning of that song.
All right. Well, listen, we've had our first disagreement.
Yes, I know. That's what it's all about, though. I think it's great. And you're in the 70s, so you're definitely in more your element than my element. So I'm going to be tainted by going back afterwards and listening to a lot of this stuff. I wasn't really listening to Boston when I was 5 years old, so it came later for sure. So that's great. Yeah, I'm sure we'll have some other disagreements moving forward. So let's maybe spin the proverbial wheel here with ChatGPT and see where we land for next time. Ready? Okay, so just as a reminder, we are sending the prompt, a random Saturday between January 1st, 1970 and December 31st, 2009. Hit send, go. And it's thinking. Here's a random. Okay, this is going to be good for me. I'm very excited about this.
Okay.
August. We're getting a lot of Augusts and Octobers. A lot of fall season. August 15th, 1992. So okay. I was in my senior year of college. Just going into my senior year in college. So my senior year in college. Yep, that's when I was going into. So there's going to be I was a DJ at this time in my college radio. So it should be fun. And I was working at Kiss 108. So that could be interesting. How about you? What was that in your life?
Well, in 1992, I was 27, still trying to figure out how to tie my shoes. Because I was a knucklehead. So I was probably still in more bars than I should admit. at this point. So this, I'm very comfortable with this era. So
Okay.
I'm looking forward to this week.
Yeah, there we go. It's going to be fun. Until next time, whenever that is, in a couple of weeks, we'll see you. I'm Mama Kay. He's Billboard Chart Guy. And until next time, this is Billboard Rewind.